Breaking news. Ukraine finally got Titan anti-aircraft drones from Germany.
And this is big.
TYTAN interceptor drones can intercept enemy UAVs at a distance of 15 kilometers, and they have a speed of 250 kilometers per hour.
The German defense company, TYTAN Technologies, they just announced it. A new site in Bavaria and a memorandum with Hensel T, the radar specialists.
Today is Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. And before we dive into what this means for the front lines, I have a quick request for all of you listening, for everyone supporting the defense of Ukraine and Europe. If you want to stay ahead of the curve, subscribe to Defense Reports. It's your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with Arya in the latest podcast by Defense Report for sharp, no-nonsense breakdowns of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today we're going to cover, a fundamental shift in the physics of modern warfare.
We're not talking about heavy metal today.
No tanks, no fighter jets. We are talking about the industrialization of the small air defense grid. We're going to break down how a popular handheld gaming console and a 3D printed German drone are literally changing the math of the war in Ukraine.
And it really is all about the math.
It is, and you are going to want to stick around for this deep dive. We're exploring why the Valve Steam Deck, the device you use to play games on the couch, is now a weapon of war.
It's incredible.
We're also going to tell you the story of a Ukrainian pilot, call sign Miguel, who downed a record 24 Shahed drones in a single night.
24 in one night.
And we have to talk about the new escalation from Russia. We're talking jet-powered drones that are forcing engineers to push these motors to their absolute breaking point.
It's a pivotal moment, really. The headline is a factory opening in Bavaria, but the subtext is that the era of using million-dollar missiles to shoot down, lawnmower engines.
Yeah.
That era is finally ending.
It's about time. So let's get right into the why before we even hit the how. We keep seeing these headlines about economic asymmetry. It sounds like a buzzword, but in Ukraine, it's a matter of survival.
It is the defining characteristic of this air war. For years, Russia has used a strategy of economic exhaustion. They just flood the zone with these Iranian-designed Shahed 136 drones. They're crude, they're loud, slow.
And cheap.
Very cheap. They cost roughly $35,000 to produce. In the grand scheme of military spending, that's practically nothing.
A rounding error, but the damage they do is in the millions, so you absolutely have to shoot them down.
And that is the trap. That's the whole point. If you use a Patriot Pansy 3 missile, you are burning anywhere from $1.2 to maybe $4 million per launch.
Per shot.
And even if you use the German Iris-T system, which has been a lifesaver in Kyiv, you're still looking at around $450,000 per interceptor.
So every single time you pull the trigger, you win the tactical fight. The drone doesn't hit the power plant, but you're losing the economic war.
You're trading a diamond for a brick.
And eventually, you just run out of diamonds.
That is the calculation Moscow is banking on. They want to bankrupt the Western arsenal.
Yeah.
And that's why this interceptor drone concept is, it's the holy grail.
The goal is a cost per engagement where the defense is actually cheaper than the attack.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the TYTAN interceptor. The price tag on this thing is reportedly between 5,000 and 20,000 euros.
Which completely flips the script.
It does. Now, shooting down a Shahed is a net economic positive for the defender.
And the news from Bavaria today, January 27th, is so significant because Titan isn't just showing off some prototype. They've opened a factory. They are aiming for 3,000 units per month by the end of this year.
3,000. That is the key word here, industrialization. We've seen DIY drones for a while, but 3,000 a month. That's a standardized army. Let's look at the specs. This thing sounds like a beast for its size.
It is.
We're looking at a drone that weighs only 5 kilograms, but it can hit speeds of 250, maybe even 300 kilometers per hour.
And speed is everything. It's the single most important metric in this cat and mouse game. The standard Shahed flies at, 180 to 200 kilometers per hour?
So if your interceptor is slower, you just never catch it.
We'll never catch it. You need that overtake speed. And the TYTAN has a range of about 15 to 20 kilometers, which makes it a point defense weapon. It circles a specific asset like a power station and sanitizes the airspace around it.
And the takedown method is, it's visceral. It's a hunter killer.
Visceral is the word.
It can carry a warhead, but a lot of the sources say it just relies on kinetic interception.
Which is technical jargon for ramming speed.
It literally just crashes into the enemy drone at 300 kilometers an hour.
The physics are just undeniable. The impact energy is around 17,000 joules. At that velocity, you don't need a complex fuse or a heavy explosive. You just need to touch the target.
And the kinetic energy alone just disintegrates the wings, shatters the prop.
It's elegant in its own brutal way.
But here is where the story gets really, really interesting for anyone who loves tech. The hardware in the sky is impressive, sure, but the hardware on the ground, you can buy it at an electronics store.
You can.
Sources confirm the ground control station for these systems is a Valve Steam Deck.
It sounds absurd when you first hear it, doesn't it?
It does,
Yeah.
using a gaming console to defend European airspace. But when you dig into it, it makes perfect sense. Why spend $50,000 developing some custom military controller?
When Valve has already spent millions perfecting the ergonomics of this one, we call it cognitive ergonomics.
So the operators, who are often young,
Right. They belong to a generation that grew up with a controller in their hands. They have the muscle memory. If you hand them a clunky, old-school military remote, you have to train them from scratch. You hand them a Steam Tech, it's like an extension of their own body.
it's battlefield ready right out of the box. And it has serious processing power, a good screen.
It just speaks to this massive shift in procurement. You know, the timeline for military-grade electronics is usually 5 to 10 years.
By which time it's totally obsolete.
Exactly. By using commercial, off-the-shelf tech like this, you can move at the speed of the consumer market.
Okay, but a guy with a Steam Deck can only see what the drone sees. He needs to know where the swarm is coming from in the first place. That's where Hensel comes in, right?
That's it. Titan provides the fist, but Hensoldt provides the eyes.
And Hensoldt is a heavy hitter in radar systems.
They are. They've integrated the Titan drones into their Elysian Mission Core software.
So what, the radar sees the swarm coming from 50 kilometers away. The software calculates the flight paths.
And it tells the operators exactly where and when to launch. It even goes a step further.
How so?
In some setups, the system can automatically launch the interceptors to meet the threat. It reduces the kill chain, the time from detection to destruction, down to seconds.
And when you're dealing with a mass attack of 50 or 60 drones, seconds are everything.
Seconds are the difference between a successful defense and a citywide blackout.
Now, we've been focused on the German industrial side, but we have to give credit where it's due. The whole doctrine, the tactics, this was all forged in Ukraine.
Absolutely. The sources all point to the Brave One defense cluster.
That's Ukraine's innovation hub, right?
It's the engine room. It streamlines cooperation between the military and private developers. They were testing these TYTAN systems way back in late 2024. But Ukraine isn't just waiting for imports. They're building their own ecosystem at a breakneck pace.
Which brings us to the Wild Hornets. These guys are legendary. They have their own domestic interceptor called the Sting.
And that leads to the story about the pilot, Miguel.
From the 128th Anti-Aircraft Missile Regiment. The Miguel story is the perfect case study for why this tech is taking over. In one night, this pilot shot down a record 24 Shahed drones.
With Sting interceptors.
24. I mean, just pause and think about that. A year ago, stopping 24 drones would have taken a battery of Gepards, missile trucks, a lot of luck. Miguel did it basically by himself.
Likely sitting in a bunker, wearing VR goggles, piloting these little bullet-shaped 3D printed drones. It completely changes the definition of an ace pilot. You don't need a fighter jet, you need good reflexes and a pile of batteries.
And the Sting is pretty comparable to the Titan, specs-wise.
Very similar, built for the anti-Shahed role. Speeds up to 280, maybe even 300 kilometers per hour now. But the most important feature is how it's made.
3D printing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is all about distributed logistics. If you build one massive factory for missiles, the enemy can target it and shut you down.
Right.
But the Wild Hornets are producing 100 drones a day because the factory is decentralized. It's hundreds of 3D printers in basements and garages all across the country. You can't kill the supply chain because the supply chain is everywhere.
The material science is getting wild, too. The sources mention a drone called the MAUS from a company called Donastal. And this blew my mind. It's made of wood.
Especially processed wood, yes. It sounds archaic, like something from World War I, but it's actually brilliant engineering. A wooden frame is 75% cheaper than carbon fiber.
And for a suicide drone, it only has to fly once.
Precisely. Why pay for aerospace-grade durability for a machine that has a lifespan of 45 minutes? Wood is cheap, it's sustainable, and funnily enough, it has a smaller radar cross-section.
So it's high-tech AI targeting bolted onto a low-tech wooden frame, but We have to address the other side of this. The enemy isn't sitting still. This is an arms race.
That is the unfortunate reality.
Yeah.
Just as Ukraine perfects the defense, the threat evolves. Russia is now deploying the Shahed 238, and the game changer there is the engine.
It's jet-powered.
It's jet-powered, which means it's fast.
How fast?
It cruises at 300 to 350 kilometers per hour. So suddenly, your interceptor that tops out at 250 is obsolete. You can't catch a target that's faster than you.
And it's not just speed, is it? They're getting smarter. The new ones have rear-facing cameras?
Yes, this is a direct response to these hunter-killer tactics. The Shahed 238 has sensors looking backward. If it detects an interceptor coming up on its six, it triggers a jinking maneuver.
A rapid pre-programmed dodge.
And that's a nightmare for a human pilot. If you're Miguel, flying by video feed, there's latency. By the time your brain processes the target is dropped and your thumbs move the sticks, it's gone. The human reaction time is the bottleneck.
So if the human is too slow, you take the human out of the loop.
You have to. This is the move to machine vision and autonomous terminal guidance. The operator flies the drone to the area, gets a visual lock, and then flips a switch.
And the drone's own computer takes over.
Exactly. It tracks the enemy pixel by pixel. It can react instantly to a jink because there's no video link delay.
It's basically an aimbot.
In a kinetic sense, yes. And to catch these jets, Ukrainian engineers are pushing their motors to the absolute limit. There are reports of new electric motors hitting 400 kilometers per hour.
400 kph on a small drone is terrifyingly fast.
It is pushing the physical limits of the rotors. But if the threat is doing 350, you have to do 400. And you have to do it at night, which is why localizing thermal imaging tech with companies like C-UAS is so critical.
Let's zoom out a little. The geopolitical implications here are huge. The TYTAN deal, it involves Estonia, it involves NATO. This isn't just a Ukraine story anymore.
No, this is the Baltic drone wall concept in action. The Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, they're all watching Ukraine very closely. They know they don't have the strategic depth Ukraine has.
A drone swarm crosses their border, and it hits a city almost immediately.
So the plan is to line NATO's eastern border with these interceptor nests. TYTAN signed a memo with the Estonian company Defsecontel. The vision is a dense screen of sensors and thousands of these cheap autonomous interceptors ready to go.
It feels like a real shift away from the American Shield model.
It's a move toward what you could call a Bavarian model, or just a sovereign European capability. For decades, the answer to air defense was buy more Patriots. But you can't fight a swarm war with a system that has limited, expensive missiles. Europe is realizing it needs a defense that is software-defined, agile, and scalable.
So what does all this mean for you, the listener? We are witnessing the birth of a totally new form of air defense. It's cheap, it's autonomous, and it gives the defender a real fighting chance against mass terror attacks.
It restores the balance. That is the most important takeaway. The strategy of exhaustion only works if the defense is expensive. By making defense cheap, by using Steam decks and 3D printers, Ukraine and his partners are breaking the economic model of the attacker.
It's incredible to think about. A few years ago, air defense was a room full of officers staring at giant screens.
And now it's a guy in a bunker with a gaming console saving a city.
It raises a pretty provocative question for the future, doesn't it? It does. And that's the thought I want to leave you with today. If a $5,000 drone, printed in a garage and controlled by a teenager with a Steam Deck, can do the job of $1 million missile system, what happens to the massive global defense contractors?
Are we seeing the end of the big weapon era?
And more importantly, if this tech is so cheap and accessible, can a small nation or even a non-state group now defend its airspace as effectively as a global superpower?
That is a disruption that is going to keep strategists awake for the next decade.
You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Aria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry. And one last reminder before we go, subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.